Hi, my name is Gabe Suarez. Welcome to Advanced Close Range Gunfighting. In this DVD, we're going to build on what we covered in the original Close Range Gunfighting program. We're going to cover a lot of new things, new movement patterns, new concepts, and hopefully we're going to help you not only survive your gunfight, but win it. I've read through the Bible several times, and there's no mention in there about gun safety. All right? Now, what that tells me is that gun safety is a work of man and therefore open to interpretation and discussion. Just because somebody said something at some point doesn't necessarily make it so, or written in stone or anything like that. All right? Let's answer first what this is for. All right? In our context, it is a weapon. It's made for killing bad guys. Therefore, it is in fact dangerous. Doesn't mean that we need to be afraid of it or anything like that. It just means that we need to manage the potential danger. To do that, we have certain rules or guidelines in place to help you accomplish that. Normally, if you go to a training school, they'll put these 4 rules in front of you. The first one, for example, will be all guns are always loaded. All right, sounds very nice. However, if I take this magazine out and I unload the pistol, I look inside, it's empty. I show the camera, it's empty. I put the magazine away. I drop the slide and I press the trigger. This is empty. I've seen it, you've seen it. For you to tell me now that all guns are always loaded insults both my intelligence and yours. All right? So instead, what we tell you is treat all guns as if they were loaded. That makes more sense in adult education. All right? We address this primarily because we do training in a lot of different countries. And they don't have the luxury that we do here in the U.S., that we have red guns and blue guns and yellow guns and all sorts of rubber guns for disarm training, for tactics training, for all of these different things. And the guys only have what they have, and we have to accommodate this. So what we do is the operator checks his pistol. He has his partner check it. At least 2 other people check it and verify it. And then we close it, tape the action closed, and it's in essence a training weapon. All right? We don't need to be afraid of these. They are our weapons. We just simply need to stay in control of them. All right? Number 2, what is usually discussed is don't let your muzzle cover anything you're not willing to destroy. Well, regardless, every time you draw and holster, you're covering either your leg or your foot or another part of your body. If I'm at low ready and I'm standing on a second story with people down below, well, good heavens, I'm covering them. If I'm in high ready and there's airplanes going overhead, you see, it's impossible to follow that rule. Don't let your muzzle cover anything you're not willing to destroy. All right? So instead, we're a little bit more clear on it. We tell you don't be careless with your gun muzzle. Somebody might ask, well, what does careless mean? Well, very simply, careless is like pornography. It's hard to define, but you know it when you see it. All right? So primarily in training and class and so on, what we want to do is we want to be very careful that our gun muzzle does not inadvertently cover something that we don't want to cover. Very simple. Okay? Number 3 has to do with the trigger finger. They would say something like, keep your finger off the trigger until your sights are on the target. But if I've got a target up close like this and I'm firing from retention position or half extension or so on, I may not know whether my sights are on the target or not. All right? So instead what we tell you is keep your finger off the trigger until you've made a conscious decision to shoot. Very simple, very clear. While we're on the trigger finger issue, we follow a 3-tier safety process. We bring that up because you know that I'm pretty much in favor of using a Glock. However, I don't have anything against other pistols, and other students will bring 1911s and Brownings and Berettas and all sorts of different weapon systems to class. That's perfectly acceptable, perfectly fine. They may have safety levers and so on that they need to deal with, and they may have trained in some other venues on operating those. My take on it is this, guys. Number 1, the number 1 safety is your brain. It's telling you to shoot or not shoot. You need to pay attention every time this is in your hand. All right? Number 2 is your trigger finger. It's either at the natural limit of extension, straight like this, or it's on the trigger, depending on what the brain is telling you to do. All right? Number 3, the final safety, which exists when you are going to relinquish control of the pistol back to the holster. You're done with the fight. There's nobody else to shoot. Nobody else is shooting at you. You're going to put it away and move on to something else. All right? With the Glock, it's automatic. All right, with a 1911 or a Beretta or one of these other types of pistols, this is when I would decock or engage the safety or so on, so that I can go back to the holster in safety. All right, and finally, we have rule number 4, which is be sure of your target and what is beyond it. Now, the implication is that if my background is not perfect, that I'm not going to shoot. Well, that's ridiculous. If I've got a bad guy in front of me, clearly intent on taking my life, and the background is a bad background, I am not going to allow him to kill me for fear of hitting a bystander. All right. Now, I may do things such as change the angle or lower my platform or something of that nature to hopefully avoid an accident, but I'm not going to not shoot because my background is questionable. All right. So those are the guidelines that we work by. They'll help you in training. They'll help you in the real world. When we began developing our program for the close-range gunfighting, we wanted to make sure that we advanced the art, that we moved it forward. So we don't focus on teaching to the lowest common denominator. Rather, we teach at a high level, and we find that our students, they elevate their skills to that level. I would ask you, the viewer, what's impossible? All right? 200 years ago, human beings flying might have been thought impossible. Yet today, airline travel is as common as a cell phone. Some years ago, not in the too distant past, it was believed that unless you were shooting from a very tight and strong Weaver stance, that you couldn't possibly control the recoil of a pistol. Yet today, we see people shooting from all manner of different stances and positions. Most of our students shoot one-handed. It was thought for a long time that unless you had a very clear and perfect view of the front sight, that you couldn't possibly fire an accurate shot. Yet today, we realize that that's not true, and most of our students in the close-range gunfighting program are firing with alternative sighting methods, some with no sights on their pistols whatsoever. It was thought for a long time, again, for example, that 50 yards was the outer limit of the ability to hit with a pistol, and yet today in many of our programs we push that out to 200 yards. Most recently, a gun writer wrote that it was impossible to fire an accurate shot while moving. Really, most of our students are able to do that on the run, headshots as a matter of fact. So instead of believing that something is impossible, I would ask you to look at what we're going to do in this DVD with an open mind. It is in fact possible if you put the time in, and you're not limited by other people's low standards. And to that end, we present the elements of the combative technique of the pistol. The first one is the concept of the complete arsenal. All right. Now, what do we mean by a complete arsenal? Well, primarily, you don't know what your fight is going to be like. All right. It may start with you on the ground fighting for your life. It may start with a knife. It may start with a stick. So the concept of the complete arsenal is as much as your true age will allow and as much as your true medical condition will allow, you want to be as complete a fighter as possible. You want to be in good physical condition. You know, if you can already go out to the range and fire a group the size of a quarter on demand, but you run out of breath when you walk up to paste the holes in the target, maybe you're spending too much time on the range. Maybe you need to get out to a gym or go and do some exercise, for example. All right, it's not going to do you any good to win the gunfight and die from a heart attack because your body can't handle the stress. All right, so today we need to be in good physical condition as much as possible. All right, you need to be good with a knife. You need to be good with a stick. You need to be good with your pistol, of course, but also with rifles and shotguns. You need to be a good driver. You need to have skills across a very wide spectrum. All right, and you know, the common idea that, well, you know, I carry a 1911 or I carry a Glock or whatever it is, I don't have to fight and I don't have to do this and that. That's simply wrong and untrue. All right, you don't know the kind of fight that you're going to have. Your bad guy is not going to take it easy on you because you look frail. All right, if anything, he'll pick on you because you look frail. So it's up to you to make yourself as complete a fighter as possible. it will definitely enhance your survivability. The next component is an understanding of the OODA loop. All right, it's kind of a funny name, but it stands for Observe, Orient, Decide, and Act. In other words, OODA. It's been written about a great deal on our forum, Warrior Talk, and in our various books. So I'll get to the key points. The OODA loop was written about by a man named Colonel John Boyd of the U.S. Air Force. And it basically defines how men process information in battle. All right. The OODA loop describes observing, orienting, deciding, and acting. No matter whether it's two men fighting each other or two nations fighting each other, they're going to go through this process. It may take milliseconds or it may take days, but it's nonetheless our program, as it were. You can't circumvent it. You do have to understand how it works for yourself as well as how it works for your adversary. Now, the key point is whoever is able to process this information to get through this loop the fastest has a definite advantage over the other person. All right. Now, that's one reason why there's been so much discussion about mindset and color codes and things of that nature. The promotion of, as our friend Jeff Cooper used to say, condition yellow. But, you know, the thing I need to tell you is none of us are robots, all right? We've got families, jobs, preoccupations in our day, distractions. We might have a cold, we might have the flu, something like that. So maintaining alertness at all times, believe it or not, is simply impossible. I'll give you a couple of examples. Here in Prescott, Arizona, we probably have the highest per capita population of steely-eyed gunmen in the world. Within the past year, I have run into no less than 3 well-known gun gurus that shall remain nameless. I saw them. These guys are guys that promote condition yellow very, very much. Nevertheless, I was able to walk up to them and stand next to them. If I was a bad guy, imagine what I could have done. I was so close I could have tapped the butt of their pistol without them ever realizing I was there. So they weren't, in fact, in condition yellow. It was more like condition brown. You know, that's the way we are, guys. We're all human beings, okay? So instead of relying on being alert all the time, you know, we want to try and be alert, but we want to have a fail-safe, if you will, in case we're a little bit late in the process of the information. All right. Granted, if you can be first, definitely something you'll want to do. Bruce Lee would call that intercepting the opponent, right? Or if we reach further back in history, as Nathan Bedford Forrest would say, be the firstest with the mostest. Now, what we need to be able to do that is we need information. We need that information to reach the tipping point that justifies in our mind drawing the pistol and shooting the other guy. We don't always get that information in a timely manner. We might be a little bit late in the recognition of what's going on. And if you are, which is where most good guys are going to be, your reaction to this fight has to change the battlefield from the perspective of the bad guy. The bad guy has looked at you, made a decision and carried it out based on what he sees. So what you need to do is you need to change that perception, in essence, reset him back to observe. Okay? If you do that, it will buy you a little bit of time. It may be enough time. More often than not, it will be enough time that his first shot or first couple of shots or his attack, whatever it may be, will miss you. All right? And he will have to reevaluate, reformulate another plan, and then carry that plan into action. That's going to happen very quickly, in seconds, but that may be enough to allow you to get your own pistol out and shoot him to the ground. Which brings us to the next component, which is get off the X. The concept of getting off the X. Back in December 1991, I was in a big gunfight outside of a 7-Eleven. And make a long story short, the 3 bad guys, the first one came out, brought his pistol up and started shooting at me. I shot back. End result, bad guy was dead. I'm still alive. Now the interesting thing is that up until that point, I was a product of the typical gun school mentality, plant your feet face down range and shoot. But on that night, I didn't do that. What I did, almost as an automatic reflex, is I moved off the line of fire. Not by very much, but obviously enough that the bad guy missed me. Why did I do that? Well, I equate that to martial art training that I've had in the past, where if an attack is coming this way, you're not going to stand there and crash into the bad guy. Hopefully you're going to get out of the way and evade the attack. And so that's what I did that night. And it started us on the path of studying this concept of getting off the X. It's been proven on the street several times. It's been proven in force on force. We run, probably since we started doing it, we've probably run close to 800 to 1,000 students through force on force. And clearly, standing here and shooting it out with the bad guy, it yields 2 dead guys. All right? Getting off the X, moving off the line of attack, it helps ensure your survivability to a great degree more. So getting off the X is a key component. And we're going to be working on some footwork concepts, some methods of getting off the X that are a little bit more enhanced than what we work at the basic level. The next point is the combat draw. Now, it's important that you be able to draw your pistol fast. If you take too long, you're going to be too late, whether you get off the X or not. Now, one area that we've been studying a great deal of is the appendix carry, right here. Okay, this was very popular many, many years ago, before the onset of competition pistol shooting. And it is very fast. Jeff Cooper, as a matter of fact, in a book that we have titled Cooper on Handguns, describes all manner of ways to carry pistols, from ankle holsters to shoulder holsters to whatever. And then towards the end of the chapter, he says, and there's always, of course, appendix carry, sort of as an afterthought. And he describes a friend of his who was Bruce Nelson, the designer of the Summer Special. And he discussed how Bruce would carry a combat commander in what was the prototype of his Summer Special in the appendix position with his shirt out, and that it was very fast, faster than other carry methods. We found that very much to be the case. An example, there's 3 basic positions that you can carry your pistol. What would be cross draw, what is appendix carry, and what is considered strong side. All right. Now, if we identify the draw into 3 steps, the hand moving to the gun moving to the target, and then finally breaking the shot, let's look at the distance the hand has to travel. All right. Simply standing here with the hands by the sides. All right. The hand moving to the gun. If I've got cross draw, look at the amount of motion I've got to take in order to get to this. This could include shoulder holster as well. All right. Now we look at appendix carry. It's about half that distance, isn't it? All right. And if we look at strong side, a great deal of motion as well. All right. So the fastest route for the hand to get to the holster is right here in appendix carry. Also, some of you that may have, shoulder injuries, especially our more seasoned students. I was going to say older, but I got it. Okay. You might have, shoulder injuries and whatnot. The shoulder articulation that needs to reach back to access a pistol and strong side carry gets harder and harder for most people as they age, whereas appendix carry is still very easy. Okay? Now, if we look at the hand moving from the holster to target with the gun, all right, from cross draw to target, from appendix to target, and from strong side to target. The least motion is still right here, isn't it? Okay? When we're moving off the X, if I'm moving off to the right side of the battlefield, for example, all right, cross draw is a long way to go before you get the pistol on target. Strong side is pretty good, but appendix carry right here is still very much in the game. If I'm moving to the other side of the clock, for example, cross draw is golden. Strong side, which is reaching all the way in the heck back over here, it's really not very pleasant at all, but appendix carry is still in the game. If we were running an exercise where it involves some ground fighting, for example, incorporating gun grappling or jiu-jitsu or whatever, which is an important part of the study, you find that if you're on your back, you can access this very easily, whereas something behind your back, almost impossible to access. Okay? So appendix carry is a key component for those that can take advantage of it. All right? It's not for everybody, but for those that can take advantage of appendix carry, this offers a great deal of advantages. The other aspect of this combat draw is you got to train from concealment. All right? Many times we see people carrying pistols in this type of manner. They get out to the range, and what's the first thing they do? They get that Garmin out of the way. Okay? Why? Why? They don't carry like that on the street, even here in Prescott, where we have open carry. Most people that you run into that are carrying pistols, they've got them concealed because we can. All right? There are tactical advantages to hiding your pistol. So I would say train like you fight. We've all heard that before, but it's very true. A lot of people forget it. Train from concealment. Very important. Some other things that you might hear about appendix carry. Some guys don't like it because, it points to the femoral artery and so on. Look, if you don't have an educated trigger finger and you can't guarantee you're going to keep your finger off the trigger, this is not for you. Okay? Simple as that. If you are required to wear, for example, a business suit or something like that where you can't wear a tails-out shirt like this, maybe it's not for you. All right? If you have what my friend in Georgia calls a successful life body, all right, where your abdominal region is very highly developed. See, I'm trying to be careful, okay? Maybe appendix carry is not for you, all right? But if you can take advantage of it, it definitely is going to give you some advantages that other types of carry won't. Another thing that sometimes guys talk about is that it's hard to sit with appendix carry. Well, not really. It's very easy to sit in appendix carry. As you see, I drive all day long and conduct all my business with the pistol in the position that it's in right now. And it's no big deal. Very comfortable, very easy, if it suits your lifestyle. All right, the next component is meat and metal shooting. Now that's kind of a catchy name. It was coined by one of our staff instructors, Wyatt Banks, after a force-on-force session. We were asking everybody, after they did the force-on-force gunfight that we set up, what did they see of their sights? And it ranged from, some people would say, nothing, to what Wyatt described, which was meat and metal. Basically, he said he saw the metal of his airsoft pistol superimposed on the meat of the charging bad guy. And it was a very good term, so we adopted it. All right. Basically, the concept of meat and metal shooting is this. There's a continuum to shooting. All right. There's a continuum to shooting. On one end of the spectrum, you've got the guy that's standing here nice and stationary from a proper shooting position, watching his sights, pressing the trigger carefully, and he has all the time in the world. If we were taking a shot at 50, 75, or 100 yards, that's the kind of shooting that you would need. Very proactive, very careful. On the other hand, the other end of the spectrum, you've got purely reactive, close-range shooting where you're trying your best to catch up to what's happening. All right? In those circumstances, simply getting the pistol out and ramming it toward the adversary is going to be all that you can manage to do. Still sufficient. All right. So when our students are asked, are you a point shooter or are you a sighted shooter? The answer is yes. They're both, depending on the circumstances. All right. That's the concept of the meat and metal shooting. From here, the final aspect, the final element of the combative technique of the pistol is what we call shoot them to the ground. All right. Basically, the things that we've seen on the street from gunfights and so on, the human body is very, very resilient. It was commonly thought that a single hit from a .45 or a couple of hits from a .45, that's it, end of watch. Well, that's simply not the case. We've seen people get shot with shotgun slugs and still continue fighting and so on and so forth. So instead, what we tell you to do is shoot them until they fall down. Shoot them until the threat stops. That may take one shot if you're lucky. It may take all 15 if that's what you have in your pistol. All right. Traditionally, the concept of firing 2 shots, came from various sources. I think it was pushed very hard in some training venues because of the need to score the targets. I don't score targets. I don't worry about that too much. I walk up to your target. It's got some nice holes in it. I go, hey, good job. That's it. Let's move on. We don't need to worry about giving you a number score or something of that nature. All right. So instead of limiting you to 2 shots or 1 shot or whatever, I just tell you fire a burst. That burst may contain 2 shots. It may contain 5. It really doesn't matter. But you need to be accustomed to continue shooting until your threat goes down. Now, one thing we see a lot of in the force-on-force environment is that guys run out of ammo very, very quickly. So along with the shoot them to the ground concept, we advocate the carry of a modern service pistol. Okay, this happens to be a Glock 17. It holds a lot of ammo. All right, either this or something like a Glock 22 and 40 that holds almost as much. You don't want to sacrifice shootability if the pistol doesn't fit your hand. However, as one of our guys in Colorado, Gary Hartzell, says, nobody ever died from having too many BBs in their magazine. Capacity is an advantage. All right? So with those 7 components in mind, let's go out to the range and get to shooting and put this into practice. All right, let's examine appendix carry, see what's possible, see what the dynamics of the draw are. The first thing is if you have both hands available, you might as well use them to clear the garment. All right. You can also draw and fire one-handed very easily, but what are you going to do with the other hand? If it's available to you, help in the draw. Another point of this meat and metal shooting is being able to shoot through the different points of the presentation. One of the things that we see a lot in force-on-force is that guys, they get trapped with needing to complete their presentation, even when that's not called for. In other words, you could have an adversary that's closing in very rapidly, and because the only thing the guys have done is draw to full extension before they shoot, they are going to do what they've practiced on the range thousands and thousands of times. So part of this evolution is developing the ability to shoot throughout the presentation, throughout your draw, not just at full extension. Now, if you look at your draw, okay, you access the pistol. As soon as that pistol starts getting horizontal to the ground, right here, I can fire my first shot here. Now, there's going to be a limit to the accuracy. Obviously, if the bad guy was 7 yards away or something like that, this wouldn't be appropriate. But for inside of 10 feet, very appropriate. Okay? Now, this is going to be considerably faster than if I wait to go to full extension up here. All right, so it's a shortcut. It's a shortcut. It doesn't replace fully extended shooting on the sights, but in the environments where this is called for, this is superior. All right, so as you look at the presentation, here would be a good position to start shooting. All right, just as well we could shoot a little bit farther out, maybe 3/4 extension. I'm not quite all the way out on the sights. I'm just below my line of sight. I see maybe the top of the slide inclining up toward the target. Again, within maybe 12 feet, 15 feet, something like that, for this would be very appropriate. All right, so let's see what that looks like. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you very slowly. I'm going to go ahead and shoot it with 2 hands, and then I'll go ahead and shoot it one-handed only. All right, so as I draw, as the hands come together and the pistol goes parallel, this would be the first position. All right, so from here, there's the first shot. Now key points, pistol is under your master eye, okay? Pistol is under your master eye. Forearms and slide are parallel to the ground. Elbows more or less touching the ribs. You have those 3 index points, you will get the hits that you need. Okay? Let's look at that again. All right, from here, there we go. All right, and just like everything else, we need to practice one hand and two hands equally. So here, all right? Again, the key points. Forearm parallel to the ground, same thing with the slide. Pistol under the master eye, elbow more or less touching the ribs. Okay, that would be the first position. Second one we're going to look at, just to identify the points, would be 3/4 extension, almost all the way out, but not quite. Okay, almost all the way out, so right here. All right, let's look at that. From here, there it is. Okay, out to about maybe 15 feet, more or less. This would be a very acceptable position to shoot from. All right, again, there it is. Okay, now I'm not seeing a sight picture because the pistol is below my line of sight. Now I'm on the sights here, before I was not. All right, these are shortcut positions. One-handed, there it is. Okay, these are shortcut positions and nothing else to help you catch up to a fight that you've come late to, in essence. The next part is very simple. You connect all the dots. As the gun comes horizontal, you start shooting. You keep shooting up until you get to full extension. So basically, it'll go like this. From here to there, to there, to there, and finally to there. Okay? We'll do it two hands, and then we'll do it one hand transferring to two hands. Okay? From here. Okay. All right. And then. All right. Again, very simple. The idea is to help you catch up to a fight that's already started that you're coming late to. Next thing we're going to look at is ambidextrous use of the pistol. This is one of those things that is inherent in any martial art. You go to study Filipino Kali or karate or anything like that, they're not going to teach you to be lopsided. They're going to teach the right side and the left side. You look at our grandfathers and great-grandfathers back when people fought with swords and things like that. They fought with the right side, they fought with the left side. They were complete in their development, you might say. This goes back even to biblical times where we hear about King David's mighty men being able to throw the spear with the left and with the right and pull a bow with the left and with the right. So it's important. Now, here comes the 20th century when people started to codify training with firearms, and what do they say? You're far too stupid to learn anything with your left hand. Right? Well, that's ridiculous. So we do a good amount of training with both sides. In advanced training, we don't have a strong side and a weak side. We have the right side and the left side, and they're both equally strong. So in any case, some important points with this. We're going to use an airsoft pistol to demonstrate directly to the camera. Important points. Your grip on the right side and on the left side should be identical with single hands. When you shoot with two hands, you have both thumbs, however you shoot, you have both thumbs on the same side of the pistol. So when you change hands, it's important that you avoid doing this. All right? I think you can imagine that that would be very exciting for you one time. You wouldn't do it again. So we want to avoid that. We want to make sure that both thumbs are on the same side of the pistol. Okay? The other thing is when you're training ambidextrous skills, you not only want to do it with your hands, you also want to do it with your eyes. So when I'm shooting right-handed, I'm using my right eye to sight. When I'm shooting left-handed, I'm using my left eye to sight. It's a matter of coordination. It's not impossible. We do it all the time. It just takes a little bit of practice. All right, the actual transfer of the pistol from one hand to the other. All right, we need to examine why we want to do this. It could be one of several things. Number one, in the force-on-force drills that we do, one of the areas that gets hit repeatedly is the hands and the forearms. So we're looking in the sense of a gunfight where you've taken a hit in your forearm or your hand, and you're beginning to realize that you can't maintain control of the pistol in that hand. Well, you simply transfer it to the other one. All right. A second situation might be where you're using cover. You're maybe clearing a corner or something of that nature, and you realize that the corner is not set up to be taken right-handed. Very simple. Put the gun in the other hand. And finally, your movement patterns, your evasion from the bad guy. You may have taken a line of movement to exit the building or get behind cover or whatever the case may be that is more conducive to shooting with your left hand than with your right hand. So in order to be able to put fire on the adversary as you're evacuating, it wouldn't be a bad idea to switch to the other hand. All right? Very simple. There's 4 possibilities. The pistol is either going to be in your right hand or it's going to be in your left hand. And then you're either going to have 2 hands on the gun or only 1. All right? So you either have the pistol in your right hand with the left hand in support, or you have it in the left hand with the right hand in support, or you have it in the left hand only, or you have it in the right hand only. That's it. Those are the only 4 possibilities. Transferring the pistol, very simple. The first thing I do is I clear my thumb out of the way. I do this. What that allows this hand to do is the thumb to get into position this way, and the right hand places the pistol into the left hand. When we're going back the other way, same thing. Vacate the thumb, get the thumb in place, and you've got the pistol in the other hand. All right? When you're transferring the pistol from one side to the other, try to come in from underneath. The reason we do this is if you've taken a hit and you're, excuse me, you're beginning to lose control of the pistol, this hand can come up underneath and augment that grip momentarily before you make the exchange so you don't lose the pistol. If you start to drop the pistol, let it fall. All right, what we don't want you to do is to start losing control of the pistol and then catch it in this manner. You can imagine what's going to happen there. All right, you know, modern pistols, my Glock 17, all right, modern pistols can take it. All right, you know, they've got inherent safety mechanisms and so on that will prevent any problem from happening if the pistol hits the deck. So if you start to drop it, let it fall. You can pick it up and continue in your training. The more you practice this, the less the tendency will be to drop the pistol. Again, it's all a matter of practice. Let's look at the possibilities here. So we start off this way. Again, it's an airsoft. You can see we've got the little orange marking up front. All right, so we've got this. So we go from 2 hands to 1 hand. Then the left hand comes in, I vacate the space, I come in from underneath, I take the pistol. I can fire with the left hand. The right hand comes in alongside to help. I go back to this, I go back to this. I can keep continuing, changing from 1 hand to 2, however long I want to. The order of transfers doesn't matter as long as you keep doing something different in your training to train both hands to be dexterous with regards to the pistol. One thing you might find helpful when you're shooting one-handed is instead of holding the pistol straight up like this, to just cant it inboard slightly. We jokingly call this a half homie instead of a full homie like we see in Hollywood. The reason for that is very simple. When you point with your hand, you don't point like this. You generally just raise the hand and point, and it's at a slight angle like this, you see. It's got to do with the skeletal structure of the shoulder and so on. It was explained to me once by an orthopedic surgeon. I'm not even going to try. All I know is that when I shoot like this, it feels a lot more comfortable one-handed than if I try and fight it to maintain like this. So if you're having trouble maintaining the pistol in a straight up and down attitude, you might consider canting it inboard slightly at a slight angle to put the shoulder in a more advantageous position. And that goes for both the right side and the left side. Now let's take that skill and get it into motion. As we discussed earlier, moving is very important when you're in close range environment, especially when you're, behind the reactionary curve. So let's examine this skill moving back and forth here. All right. All right, let's elaborate on the get off the X concept a little bit more. As we said, it's better if you're proactive. It's better if you know the fight's going to start. Being reactive, well, it sucks. But sometimes that's what you have. All right? Now, by getting off the X, dynamically and quickly, you can change the entire battlefield from the bad guy's perspective and, in essence, reset him back to where he started in terms of evaluating the battlefield. What you're doing in reality is turning reactive into proactive. You're turning the adversary into a reactive individual, and you yourself are becoming proactive, causing him to adapt to what you're doing. Now, field expedient situation here. We've taken a target stick and we've drawn out some lines on the deck here. So let's talk about this real quick. As I'm standing here in the center of this drawing, the bad guy is directly ahead of me. Now what we do is we use a clock analogy because everybody knows how to tell time, hopefully. Directly in front of me is 12 o'clock. Directly behind me is 6 o'clock. All right? The bad guy is there. This is his line of fire right here. Now, if he's shooting at me from here, all right, no matter how strong I am, what's going to win? The 9mm or Gabe? Well, the 9mm or 40 or whatever he's shooting. We don't want to turn this into a contest of strength because I'm going to lose. All right. Back here, the 6 o'clock. All right. I can't run backwards fast enough to outrun his bullets. I can't run backwards fast enough to outrun him. So moving backwards is also a losing proposition, not only because I'm not going to outrun anything, but also because eventually backing up like that, I'm going to fall down. All right? What we want to do is we want to get off this 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock line somehow. What we've done here for instructional purposes is we've illustrated 3 possible lines of movement. Over here we have what would be the 1 o'clock, the 3 o'clock, and then the 5 o'clock. If we were being complete about this, we would show the same thing on the left-hand side. So we have 3 possible positions on the right, 3 possible positions on the left in terms of movement. This is going to typify our movement off the X. Now, an interesting point. Which line of movement do I want to take? Well, generally speaking, I want to move to the back of the adversary's gun hand. So if I was your adversary and I was right-handed, it would benefit you more to move to the outside of my gun hand rather than toward my center line. It's considerably easier for me to track inboard than it is to track outboard. We've done this force on force, and repeatedly we see this situation. All right. Also, it's going to be beneficial to you to move to the forward angles. In other words, the 1 o'clock or the 11 o'clock. If you look at this over here, if I'm standing here and the bad guy is shooting at me, all right, with one step I can be in this position here. Arguably, each one of these different lines of motion is perhaps the same exact distance, as much as we can measure it out here using caveman means. It takes me the same time, the same effort to move to each one of these points. All right, if I stop here, the bad guy has to adjust a certain amount of distance. All right, if I move over here, he has to adjust a little bit more. And if I move over here, he has to adjust a little bit more still. So if the time to his shot is, let's say, X over here, it's X plus 1, X plus 2, it's going to take him the longest amount of time to get back on target if I move to the forward diagonals. Now, this might be counterintuitive for most people, because I'm sure you've all heard the old saying, distance is your friend, and all of this sort of thing. Well, you know, that may be true to a certain degree, but the fight is on already. We're in here 10, 15 feet away from the bad guy. How are we going to change distance at all? It's impossible. You can't run away fast enough to make a difference here. All right? But what you can do is you can change the angle. And if you can change the angle, you can change his battlefield and cause him to go on reactive. It may mean an advantage of, half a second, 3/4 of a second, but the outcome otherwise would have been you both get to shoot each other at the same time. By moving off the X, you buy yourself a little bit of time, and that little bit of time may make the difference for you. Let's talk about enhancing your movement off the X. All gunfights are half shooting and half trying not to get shot. When we ask a group in class, which is the most important of the two, quite correctly, they say, well, not getting shot. Okay? Much of the gun training that goes on today is really based on the idea that they're going to trade a shot for a shot. All right, because my pistol's more powerful, or my shot will be more accurate, or God knows what else. I don't think that's a good idea. This isn't like a fist fight. You can take a punch, you might not be able to take a bullet. So my whole focus here is on trying to keep you guys from getting shot. All right. Yes, I am afraid of getting shot, and so should you be. Getting off the X will help you to not get shot. Okay. Normally, when we're teaching people to get off the X in the introductory or fundamental class, what do we tell them? We simply say, just walk normal. Because most guys have a hard time breaking this idea of a shooting stance and all this sort of business. So in order to not confuse the issue, what do we tell them? If you want to go to the right, just step to the right. No problem. If you want to go to the left, just step to the left. Very good. But there's a better way. Okay? Remember, the faster you get off the X here, the more survivability you will have in the fight. Now, what we're about to do here is integrate some Filipino martial art footwork with the gun. All right? Just to prep everybody, I've got an airsoft here, so I'm going to be pointing direct at my cameraman. For a long time now, we've been cooperating with Tom Sotis, the founder of the Amok system. He's been teaching our guys knife, and we've been teaching him and his guys pistol. And there's been a lot of cross-pollination going on as a result. And in doing the force-on-force drills with Tom, he showed us the Pikiti takeoff, which really enhances your ability to get off the X quickly. All right. Here's the explanation for it. Basically, as you're standing here, most people, when they want to move to a certain direction, let's take to the right, for example, just to isolate this. Most people, when they want to move to the right, they're going to step off in this direction. But the first thing they do is they fight gravity, and they actually lean their weight away from the area they want to move toward so they can unweight this foot and pick it up. Now, I'm exaggerating for visual purposes, but I'm sure you get the idea. All right? So stepping off to the right, getting off to the right would be moving slightly to the left with the weight, picking up the foot, and then dropping into that direction. So we're in essence hovering here on top of the X for a little bit longer than maybe is smart. Okay? What the Pikiti takeoff allows you to do is it removes the need to lean away from the direction of travel and allows you to fall into that direction. In short, if I want to move to my right, what's going to happen is my left foot is going to kick out slightly to my left as I step off with the right. So instead of leaning back, picking up the foot, and stepping, all right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kick out with this foot and step off in this direction like that. Now, I'm exaggerating the motion here for learning purposes, but that is in essence what we're going to do. Now, there's some discussion that, well, your feet should be weighted and you should be primed and you should be this and you should be that. Listen, guys, I understand all that. You got to remember, this is for those unexpected gunfights. If you were expecting the gunfight, would you be standing here on the X waiting for something to happen? Not me. I'd be behind my car with my AK. All right? If you find yourself in a reactive mode, this is going to help you to get off the X faster than simply walking and stepping. All right? So in essence, what we look at, you see this diagram on the ground here, it's basically a big T. All right? For clarity and brevity, what we're going to do is we're going to eliminate the lateral movement right now and just focus on the diagonals, either forward or to the rear. Okay? Now, if I want to move to my 1 o'clock, which is in this direction, all right, and I'm standing right on top of this cross here, all right, my left foot is going to kick out to the opposite direction. So if I want to move there, I've got to create pressure here. So it will look like that. Okay? Very simple. If I want to move in this direction, this foot is going to kick out to the opposite. So if I want to move to the 11 o'clock, the right foot is going to kick out to the 5. All right? So basically, there. All right? And if I want to move to the 7, the rear left diagonal, the right foot is going to kick off to the 1 o'clock. There. And if I want to kick, move off to the 5, the left foot is going to kick off to the 11, and I move off in this direction here. You see what that does is it gets my upper body and my head off of the line of fire faster. All right? Now let's look at that with the pistol. Again, I've got an airsoft, so I'm going to point direct at the camera. If I'm standing here and I want to move to my 1 o'clock, remember, I've got to clear from concealment here. Okay? So, there I am. Okay? Now I'm shortening my steps. I'm just taking the initial takeoff to illustrate to you how that's going to work. Again, I'm standing on the T over here. I'm going to move to my 11 o'clock. There. And from here to the 5, the right rear diagonal. There. And the last one, the 7, rear left diagonal. There. Okay, that's how we integrate the Piketty takeoff with the appendix draw to get off the X. Okay. Another thing that we've been examining too is the Piketty takeoff with sort of a built-in fake. We can call it a double takeoff, if you will. We haven't come up with a clever name for it, and I don't know that I want to even bother with that. But we found this very, very beneficial when we're working drills against adversaries with contact weapons. It keeps you on the X a little bit longer, so it may not be something that we want to do for a gun versus gun problem, but a charging adversary or somebody with a contact weapon might be very beneficial. In other words, what we do here is we start off with a Piketty takeoff. So if I want to move in this direction, again, this foot kicks out in this direction, this foot catches up here. Now, normally we would keep going in this line, but instead what we do is, as soon as this foot plants, we push off and move into the opposite direction. So it looks something like there, okay? Let me do that again. It looks something like this, okay? Where you take off, as soon as that foot plants and is loaded, you use it to move in the opposite direction. With the pistol, it looks like that. And again, you can use that same concept to all the other lines, the 11 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and 7 as well. Next thing we're going to look at is the close quarter half extension position. Now, I got this guy, he's, what, 6 feet away from me? Guys, do I really need to come up here to a full extension and get him? Come on. I don't, okay? This is where this comes in, right here. Now remember, we talked about the OODA cycle earlier, that you either have to have something in your response that changes the battlefield for him, or you need to be a little bit ahead of his game. Now, this is a very fast draw. It's going to allow you to be very much ahead of his game. All right? Again, remember, like we talked earlier, pistol and forearm have to be horizontal, parallel to the ground, elbow touching, pistol pretty much in your center line. You can later on do some of this stuff on the move. For right now, we're going to do this as a stationary response, moving into the takeoff. Now, this is going to be my position here. As I draw into this position right here, okay? My initial shots on the bad guy are going to be low because the pistol is low. It's the way it goes. Belly shots, maybe not the best option in the world, but they're going to hurt, they're going to leave a mark, okay? So this is my starting position here. All right. If I want to move to my 1 o'clock, my left foot is going to kick back to my 7, and I'm going to move off in this direction here. As I create distance, I'm going to go ahead and extend the pistol. If I want to move off to my 11 o'clock, okay, my right foot is already back there, so I don't have to do a takeoff in this instance. I simply push off and keep shooting as I extend. Okay? Now, from here, moving to my 5 o'clock, let's say, all right, I'm in this position here. This foot can kick off slightly to get some pressure in there, boom, and kick off here. Another option I might have as moving to the 5 o'clock is, as I start pushing off, immediately transfer the pistol to my left so that I can move a little bit faster, okay? And here, moving to the 7, again, right foot is going to kick forward, and I'm going to kick off and hit in this manner, okay? So let's go ahead and shoot that live and see what it looks like. A little bit of the after-action process, but before we do that, I want to address very briefly ready positions. You're in a ready position because you anticipate a fight. A lot of discussion and so forth on what a ready position is. I'll clear it up for you. This is not a ready position. This is a ready position. Anytime the pistol's in your hand, you have apprehension of danger, that's a ready position. Now, there are a number of different ready positions. There are contact readies when you have somebody that you're contacting at gunpoint. There are movement readies, which exist for when you're moving to contact somebody, and there's also covert readies, which exist for you to hide your gun when you expect that there might be a fight, but you don't want to start it quite yet. Okay? First, let's look at contact readies. Contact ready basically has the weapon in contact with the bad guy. All right? Now, I am in close proximity to the target here for illustrative purposes, but this would be for a little bit farther away. Regardless, the pistol is pointed in. What impression am I giving this guy? That I'm reluctant to shoot him or looking forward to it? Probably the second one. Okay? So here I am. The pistol is located right about his waistband so I can see what's going on here. Most good guys, most bad guys, we all carry pistols on our around our waistband. So I want to see what's going on in that action. If I need to shoot him, I'm in a really good position to do it right now. I can bring it up slightly and get a more high-value target. Now you compare that with low ready. Low ready is down here, muzzle averted. It gives him the impression I'm reluctant to shoot him. Okay? And if I do in fact need to shoot him, look at all the distance that this pistol has to travel in order to get to the target zone, as opposed to this to there. All right? So this is much preferable to low ready. Contact ready is what we call it. We also have compressed contact ready, which is for when you're in greater proximity to the bad guy. You don't want to extend the pistol out too far because you might in essence be handing it to him. All right? So all you do is you compress that contact ready to this point here. He's still seeing the pistol pointed at him. You're still giving him the same body language, if you will. All right? And you're still in a very good position to respond if you need to. And finally, we have close contact ready, which is when you are almost within arm's range. All right? And you anticipate that you're going to have a weapon retention problem if possible. So this pistol comes back over here, and you are set up to defend this if you need to. All right? Now, you look at how the muzzle is angled slightly down. This is important because if somebody was in fact in close proximity to you, your hand wouldn't be down here in your pocket, would it? Like you did at gun school, nor would it be holding onto your collar or any other such safe situation. It would be up here smashing him in the face, blocking something. It would be involved in the fight. All right? So we retain the pistol on low line here because we don't want to shoot ourselves. Very simple. Okay? So those are the three contact ready positions. There's also covert readies. Covert ready involves hiding the fact that you have the pistol in your hand. All right, it could be back here behind your leg, for example. It could be back here under your arm. You might even hide it behind your hat. All right? What's the benefit of that? Well, there are some situations where you will get information that a fight might be starting, but you don't necessarily want to cause anything. But you do want to be ready. Readier than simply in the holster. Anyway, you know, this covert ready business is important. There's a friend of mine that was down in the South, student of mine, went into a jewelry store to buy some gifts for his girlfriend, and you know, right at that moment, some bad guys came in. You know, the typical armed robbery kind of thing, masks, long coats, and whatnot. And they were focused on the cashier and the employees there. So my student, he kind of, you know, drifts off to the back of the store there and very carefully draws to covert ready and stands by. He doesn't want to start a shooting in there. You know, it's a gunfight. You don't want to risk these people's lives over a couple of dollars. So, you know, he just kind of stands by. What he's most concerned was that they were going to gather up all the customers and employees and, you know, take them on that last walk to the back room sort of thing. And he wasn't going to have any of that. So in the event that was the case, he was ready to go. But if that wasn't going to happen, he wasn't about to risk everybody's lives over a little bit of money. So he stood by, became a good witness. Eventually the bad guys left. He holstered back up. End of story. Nothing happened. All right. He would have been a heck of a lot more ready doing that than if he waited and left a pistol in the holster. All right. So those are covert readies. Finally, we also have movement readies. Movement readies involve getting from point A to point B so you can have your gunfight. Okay. Sure, you can do it with the pistol still in the holster, but again, remember, you're a little bit apprehensive that something's going to happen. Why not get the pistol in your hand? All right. So we get it in our hand. Now, the position we use primarily for moving from one point to the other, is called Sul, S-U-L. It's called Sul because it's Portuguese. It was devised in Brazil by an American named Max Joseph when he was training some of the people down there. He intended it mostly for SWAT and police activity and so on, but as soon as I learned it, I realized that it had applications beyond that. Basically, most of you that have trained with me before, you know how to get into the Sul. Basically, it looks like this, okay? You know, if you don't like it, calling it Sul, you can call it chopped liver or you know, chocolate cookies or whatever. I don't care. But in any case, it looks like this, all right? And it allows me to face the camera. It allows me to turn in any direction that I want without muzzling anybody. So that's an advantage. Second thing is I can protect it if I just move my hand on top of the gun, if I'm moving through a crowd or something of that nature, okay? So this is it right here. Now, there are a number of, you know, gun riders and whatnot that don't like Sul. They teach the same thing with long guns, but for whatever reason, they don't like it with a pistol. They say that, you know, it's hard to defend from and, you know, all sorts of things that, you know, just don't make any sense. Well, I want to show you right now that you can, in fact, defend Sul, okay? And we're going to do this live fire. The idea is a bad guy is right in front of you, and for whatever reason, your attention failed and he managed to get this close to you. First thing, remember, the Sul position is not to challenge anyone. This is to get you to the fight. If I'm moving to the fight and I see my bad guy in front of me, I'm going to push out to a different kind of ready position, if I need to go to ready position at all without just shooting him. All right? So if I find myself at this proximity with the bad guy and I'm in Sul position, he has surprised me. Okay, I wasn't expecting to do this, and I certainly wasn't planning to do this. Okay, but if I'm here and he comes at me from the front, okay, now the first thing, you notice my position. In the old days when they taught close quarter shooting, what did all the guys that were shooting do? They lean back to get away from. No, don't do that. Make him lean back. Okay, so I'm here like this. If he comes in from the front, okay, there's my shots. I think those are going to hurt. Okay. If he comes in from the side, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise my elbow up into his face. There's my shots right there, okay? If he comes at me from the side here, okay, I'm going to strike him here. At the same time, I'm going to hit him from below. If I'm in Sul position and he comes in from behind, grabs me in a bear hug or something like that, I simply move the hand around the pistol, bring it underneath, all right? And if he's coming at me from the side on the other side here, all I do is I move the pistol back until I touch something, and I go ahead and press. Okay? All of those are going to be devastating to him. All right? Now, one thing I want to show you very quickly here is in the sense of the Sul position and shooting and so on, because you make contact with the pistol, don't think that you're going to press in and make the shot go off, because if I press in, all right, what's happening here? The pistol is disconnecting, okay? So I'm not going to be able to break this shot. You see my trigger is dead, all right? If I pull back, now I can break those shots very easily. So because you make contact, don't stay there. Pull back slightly before you break your shots, all right? Okay guys, next thing we're going to look at is confined spaces, all right, something like this. We do a lot of getting off the X and a lot of movement, wide spaces and so on, but the question always comes up, well Gabe, what if? Well, here we are. We borrow from a lot of different disciplines, and primarily we're borrowing here from the Western Bowie knife studies and other Western fighting systems that we learned from Jim Keating. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to take advantage of what is available to us, all right? The concept of getting off the X is getting off of his line of fire. So I'm right here, he's shooting at me, all right? I don't have a lot available to me, but I want to use what I do have, okay? So as I see the fight is starting, all right, I'm going to get off the X, and I'm going to flatten up against this wall here as much as possible. This is basically the incortada technique from Western fencing, except we're using a pistol. Okay? Now we've done this force on force many times. Once you get off the X, all right, 99 times out of 100, the bad guy's going to bring his pistol right across to point at you where you happen to be here. So you have to displace again if you haven't dropped him. All right, the most expeditious way for us to continue moving off the line of fire is to drop down like this. And we're talking about a very dynamic drop. Notice my pistol is still pointed at him. I'm still shooting him. Okay? From here, again, we see a lot of times the bad guy will drop the pistol straight toward you to shoot you. From here, you simply move up and you get offline again. And this time I might as well put some headshots on there. That works out pretty good. We'll show you the other side in a moment here. We'll go ahead and do this one live. Okay. I walk into the problem, I see this. Okay, very dynamic. All right, now the other side is I happen to already start out in this situation, this area right here. So there's no point in me moving further up against the wall because I'm already there. My only option is, as he presents his weapon, is to move off in this angle over here. So what I would do is, as I see the problem starting, I get off the X, this way. This gets me offline of where he's originally trying to hit. Okay? If he starts to bring his pistol back toward me, I drop down. I can fire up into the head or chest cavity, wherever I need to. All right? And then if his pistol starts coming down to hit me here, I push off of this leg as I transfer hands, and I start putting headshots on board as I continue moving off the X. Okay? Let's go ahead and try that live. I want to thank you for buying this DVD, Advanced Close Range Gunfighting. We covered a lot of new material here. We covered how to get off the X better. We covered the elements of the combative technique of the pistol, appendix carry, fighting in close quarters, index shooting, and a number of advanced techniques that I'm sure will enhance your survivability in a gunfight. Take them home, practice them, make them your own. I want to thank the gentlemen that contributed to the development that we've reached to this point. Men like Mike Janich, Mark Denny, Tom Sotis, Jim Keating, who have shown us how to incorporate many of the elements in knife combatives, both Eastern and Western, into our close-range gunfighting matrix. I want to thank them for their contribution. This has been the first DVD produced by the Infidel Media Group. It's going to be the first of many. We've got a lot of very exciting titles for you, and I think you're going to like where we take this. So again, thank you, and God willing, we'll get to train again soon.